guys, this is Rick coming at you with Weed to No Basis, the podcast for all things cannabis business related. Are you an entrepreneur? Have something you wanted to create, something you wanted to bring to life in the cannabis industry? Maybe you've always wanted to partake in one of the biggest industries in modern day history. This is the podcast to listen to. We're back with another episode of Weed to No Basis. And before I introduce our next guest coming at us live, I just want to remind you all that if you're tuning in and watching this on YouTube or WeedTube or listening on a variety of channels, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, it's because you two are on a Weed to Know basis. So today, I'm super excited. We got a good friend of mine from all the way out from California coming on. This is Matt Sibert of Sagelogica and Symbio Cannabis Consulting. Matt, what's up today, my brother?
Rick, it's great to be here, man. I've been excited. I've been wanting to come on the show. So since you asked me a week or so ago, like, yeah, I can't wait to get on here and talk to you. So it's always fun hanging out with you.
It is. And we, speaking of hanging out, you're in California, right? That's where you're coming at from right now.
Yeah, I'm in San Diego.
Yep. And I'm in Texas, the center of the country, right in the center of Texas. And we actually met for the first time in New Jersey at the end of 2019, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was great at the Real Cannabis Entrepreneur Conference. They had a sold out show and we both had some great talks and educated some people and met. I'm sure you met a bunch of great people and we got to meet in person for the first time, which was the icing on the cake.
Yeah, I love it. I love that the industry, cannabis, and when I say cannabis, I'm just for the listeners, I'm talking about CBD, marijuana, the entirety. I love that it's a big, huge industry, but it's really small. And we get to know people, like we get to meet them in person, like pressing flesh and chatting and having a beer or just hanging out. It's such a cool time to be in the industry.
It is. It's all about your network. And like one of the phrases I like is it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
I love that. I've never heard that. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. I like that. I heard one a while back from the late Anthony Bourdain, and because obviously the foodie, the chef. And,
love him. Tony, one of the coolest guys to ever lived. Rest in peace.
Oh my God, I'm telling you. One of the phrases I heard him say on the show, and some things just really stick. He said, "Don't tell me what you ate. Tell me who you ate with." And I love it. It's connection. That's really what he was alluding to, and that's what I think we're alluding to is connection. But enough bantering. So I love what you're doing. I love that when we were chatting prior to starting the film today, that I said, so I just said, tell me what you do. And you said, I help CBD brands launch and scale. Short, sweet, impactful. Share what that means to the audience, the folks listening.
Gotcha, Rick. I've been selling CBD since 2013, and it's just been great. I've opened 5 dispensaries in San Diego in the last 7 years, and we were helping so many people with CBD, and we were attached to a pain management clinic. And so I just saw the effect that it was having. And so California was about to go from medical to recreational in the dispensary world, and I knew it was going to be a nightmare, which it is. And so I decided to shift focus over to CBD business solely, and which was a great decision. And but at the time, this was in 2016, the CBD industry was so new, and my lady Dr. B and I launched a brand called Hemplogica, and it was tough because there weren't a lot of brands at the time. There were some, but there were no consultants or anybody to help you navigate the CBD world. So we had to figure it out on our own, and we made a ton of mistakes. We hired the wrong people for marketing and different jobs, lost a lot of money, but then eventually we did figure things out, thank God. And we figured out how to navigate things and what worked for us and our talents. Obviously everybody has different talents that they bring to the table, and we found that trade shows and brick and mortar sales were what we excelled at. And then we did find e-commerce marketing experts that were hitting home runs for us. And so it's tough to navigate all this. Like, how do you get a merchant account? How do you set up your bank account? Who are marketers that you can trust to help you navigate this whole crazy industry? And so, and even just the tech side of things, that was our biggest headache. Like, just, we didn't have like a tech person on staff, and we had to figure things out with our website when things would happen. It was just, man, it was tough because we were bootstrapping. But we did get up to 50,000 a month in sales, and we had 3 public companies offer to buy us out within 6 months of launching that company. And so we learned a lot in that whole process. And then we decided to get into the consulting side of things, as I saw there was nobody helping people launch brands. And I lost both my parents to cancer, and I just want to help as many brands get out there with amazing products and help people and get off of pharmaceuticals and live a healthier life. And so that's why we decided to shift over to creating courses and consulting with CBD brands. And we've been very successful with that. I'd like to say, we get a lot of great reviews from the brands that we work with. They say they save a lot of time and money because we're able to help them avoid certain mistakes or connect them to the right people faster so they can get to where they want to go. So that's what we're focused on nowadays. And we're going to be launching the CBD Business Accelerator in the next month. So I'm excited about that. And that's going to be a website of a library of resources for CBD brands that are launching and scaling.
Nice. I love it. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool that your journey has, I like to use a visual for the folks who are visual, because I like to paint pictures in my head. And almost like this industry for me, and it sounds like for you, it's been like being in a pinball machine, bouncing around, but always going forward, right?
You have to. It's a moving target. I like to say, like, you could come up with the best idea, and then by the time you execute it, it's not hitting anymore because it just moves so fast. So you have to there's luck and timing with the cannabis business. Like, I've seen people get really rich and I've seen people lose fortunes. And I see a lot of people thinking they're going to get rich right away in the CBD and cannabis business because they're new to this. It's just as rare like any other industry. Like, don't think just because it's the cannabis business that you're going to get rich right away. It very rarely happens. I've seen it once or twice, but I've been around the block. And so, yeah, it takes time and effort, just like any other business. You got to work smart and roll your sleeves up, and like Rick does every day.
I appreciate that, and back at you. I mean, I know you're on the hustle like 24/7. I
take Sundays off now.
Crazy. You know, it's funny you say that, but literally as we're recording this on a Friday morning, I actually have meetings this Sunday. I'm the same. Like Sundays, it's like clean slate, but yeah. I had no choice. I mean,
sometimes you have to do them. Yeah, I was about to do one Sunday morning. I was like, no, I can't. I'm not going to do it. So yep. Yeah, I moved it. But yeah, it's then that's another thing I like to talk to people about when I'm consulting is time management and things of that nature, because the cannabis industry will take everything you can give it, and then you might forget about your family and your relationships and things like that. So you have to balance it all out. And there's a couple books that I like that I've been reading recently, that Getting Results the Agile Way, and what's the other one? Sorry, my mind is slipping. I'll remember it later, I'm sure. But Getting Results the Agile Way is a great book on setting goals and managing your time and focusing on what's important, because you can get lost in the weeds focusing on things that aren't important. So I love that book for that. Oh, and then awesome. Getting things done is the other one, the GTD way of doing things. And so I combine those two ways of setting your goals and managing your time, because otherwise you could get just the cannabis industry will take all of you. And so, yeah, it's important to schedule things out and make time for your family and friends and relationships.
And stick to your guns. I mean, it can't go, I don't want to gloss over it, but for the folks who are listening or watching is, Matt, you just mentioned Sundays are downtime, and sticking to your guns and doing that. And 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty much on par, but this Sunday, I couldn't help it. I want to touch on the courses here in just a sec, especially to dive into maybe your most popular one. But one thing you mentioned was, you're talking about books and how the industry can suck the life out of you, the time out of you. How important to you, it sounds like we're pulling a thread, how important to you is understanding, not only understanding yourself and time management, but really your mindset and one's mindset going into either as a new entrepreneur in the industry or somebody who's achieving success? So like mindset, is that a big deal for you?
Oh yeah, I'd say that's the most important thing, and in this business, because there's going to be so many ups and downs. Like you said, it's a roller coaster. It's a pinball. You're all over the place. So one of my mentors told me, don't let your highs get too high or your lows get too low. You just have to stay calm through the storms with this industry. And even when you hit home runs, don't get too cocky and just stay focused and stay on task. And mindset is huge. And even in our course, the largest section of our course, which is about 12 hours of material on how to launch a successful CBD brand, the mindset portion is probably the biggest portion. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't care about that, which is sad because it's to me and to, I know a lot of millionaires and I know 2 billionaires, and they're huge on mindset, writing their goals down, visualizing their goals, working on their self-esteem and self-confidence, and through visualization and meditation and, just thinking positive. And I used to be I grew up in a very violent community in Chicago, and I was very violent and angry and cynical person, and a lot of negative things I would attract to me. And thank God I landed at this company called Nightingale Conan, and their motto is "You become what you think about." And I was like, wow, why don't I try that positive thinking? And it just totally changed my whole life. I tripled my income in a year. I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. It was like all this crap just came off of me and just improved my life. And that was 10 years ago. And I've been on that journey, and I'm still learning and growing. And I think, mindset is big time. If you're not focused on that, you're just going to be all over the place. And so I have a morning routine that I do. Like I meditate and exercise and visualize my goals and write my goals down. And just every day I try to stick to that routine. And I was lucky enough to interview 3,000 very successful entrepreneurs over a 2-year period. And I learned so much from them. And every single millionaire out of those people that I met write their goals down every day. They write everything down and they visualize it. There's not one that I can remember that, or like, no, I don't write my goals down, So I think it's huge, just knowing what you want and focusing, because there's so many opportunities, especially in the cannabis industry, that if you don't focus on certain things, you're going to be all over the map. Like me and Dr. B were when we first got into the CBD world, we were just trying to see what would work, and it just wears you out. And then focusing on what you do best is much better that way.
Love it. You're like almost literally speaking my language. And I love it. And none of this, just as a reminder to our listeners out there, our viewers, is this isn't pre-planned. Like we don't have a set group of questions. This is like a riff. We just talk about business, life, mindset, CBD, marijuana, and deliver something that our audience needs to or wants to hear. Maybe they don't even know it yet, but it's funny you say the things you did, Matt, because we're in early 2020 now as we record this, and whether you listen to this mid-year, later the year, a lot of folks end the year and enter the new one with resolutions or goals or metrics, and part of mine, it sounds like there's a lot of resonation here, was to say no more. In other words, to stop trying to grab every shiny object coming at me and our business. And yes, they could be real opportunities, but focusing on, to tag what you just said, focusing on what your strengths and talents are, and just doing that and doing it very well. And
so smart.
We have to, because the industry is just going to get more massive.
Just like we were just talking about earlier, you have a team that helps you produce your shows. Like otherwise, how much time would it take for you to put together all these, shows that you do? And people don't think like that. They don't, like, outsourcing is so big, and delegating. Like I just hired an assistant 2 months ago, and it's been life-changing. Like she's incredible. And shout out to Shauna. But yeah, she's like takes care of all these things. Like she's building us a website for our consulting. She does all, like, just anything that we need her to do, she can execute those things. And it takes a load off of you, you know, to have somebody that you can count on to schedule calls or send an invoice or answer an email for you or things like that.
I love it. And for that, you know, what's interesting is a lot of folks might hear what you just said and think, well, I can't afford an assistant, or it's usually, they will usually tie it to, you know, to money. But I want folks to flip that on its head and not think about in terms of, I can't afford an assistant, but think about the time and the money you would save by not having an assistant. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Sometimes we can't afford to spend that minutia time doing the things that is better served as, you know, by outsourcing it. So love it. I didn't know you had an assistant. That's pretty cool. Now I'm jealous. I need to get me a Shauna. So.
Yeah, she's great.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm just learning this year. That's what I want to do too, is just working smarter and not harder, and not working 13 hours a day and things like that, and just being smarter about things, and outsourcing and delegating. And one of my friends one of my partners, he's very smart. He says, if somebody can do it 80% as good as you, hire them, let them, let them do it. Nobody probably will do it as good as you do it, but if they can do it as 80% as good as you, great. You know, as long as, and then you could stick to what you do best. Like, obviously you're a content creator. And so, like, imagine if you were having to do all these other things all the time and you didn't outsource certain things, you just wouldn't be able to create the content.
You're right. You're right. That's exactly what we do. Is our content is created by virtue of these podcasts and speaking engagements, and just getting the message out there. So without a doubt, a few things I'm gonna have to do is look for the book Getting Results the Agile Way. I don't think I've heard of that, but I'm gonna have to get that book.
It's a great book. It simplifies things. Basically, they talk about how you just want to take your 3 most important goals for the day that you want to focus on. Because I have 100 things I need to do every day. So if I can just every day go through my list and pick the 3 most important things and just put those at the top of the list. And then if you get those done that day, then you can start going down the list more. But it just helps you stay focused on getting results on what's important and the hardest things that you need to get off your plate. And but that's the basics of it. There's more to it than that, but just kind of putting those more important goals at the top of the list. And like, the getting things done is cool, but it's still more task oriented, where this is more like just focused on getting the results.
I'm taking a lot of notes. I'm getting a lot of good stuff out of this. And I hope for those of you out there, again, if you're driving, don't take notes, but just remember to come back to the show and drop comments here in the feed. But this is good stuff, you know. And one of the beauties about interviewing folks like you, shakers, movers, and hustlers in the industry, is I learn every time. Like, I don't even realize it, Matt, the gaps that I have, until I hear certain folks mention things and I'm like, dang, I never thought of that. Or I'm going to try and tweak it so I can put a little more of that into, you know, my recipe, if you will.
Yeah. And it's weird. Like, to me, the simplest things have gotten me the best results in life. Like, even just like meditation or deep breathing or things like, you know, just little simple things are the most powerful things. Usually it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yep. That's a whole episode of breathing, of the power of our breath. And you know, you mentioned it from the viewpoint of somebody who was angry and then had a mind shift, and you've embraced it. My words, I don't want to put words in your mouth. And,
no, that's good.
Yeah. And, you know, interesting that what the word that emerged is breath. Breath can control so much. And now I'm going to give you, and you just gave me an idea for another episode. As I've been a trauma ER nurse for 20 plus years. And the first thing when we triage, or every algorithm begins with airway, with breath. Breath is not only the key to literal life, but it's the key to literal life, the way you've explained it and the way we approach it as healthcare providers. So interesting. That's a big nugget for me. I kid you not.
Yeah, it's so powerful just to pay attention to your breathing throughout the day. And I notice, like, if I get stressed, I'm breathing really short and not taking those deep, relaxing breaths, and, you know, and just focusing. And so, yeah, you got to, like, just throughout the day, check on yourself. Am I breathing all the
Yeah.
way, or am I like tight, you know?
Yep. You know, we were also mentioning beforehand, I hadn't planned on going here, but we talked about our electronic devices, our phones and all that. And I'm wearing my iWatch, and every few hours it buzzes, and it tells me to take some deep breaths, and it gives me a 60-second breathing exercise. And I don't remember how it got on my watch, but it does it. It's almost like
That's
it's
nice.
intuitive.
I like that. Yeah, it knows that you need it.
It does. It's like, okay, Rick, time to breathe. I'm like, oh shit, man, that watch
Oh
is
man,
like,
I swear now, like I think about I'll be thinking about something and I'll see an ad. Like I think YouTube or Facebook can read my mind now. I know they have technology where if you're talking about something, they definitely can listen through. Like I 100%. I've talked to this one marketer, he has the technology where if you're talking about something, have you ever noticed you'll see an ad about
yeah.
it? Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It is. It is. And once we learn to, or we have free reign to utilize those tools in the cannabis space, it's going to be nutty. A nutty
Oh
time.
man, yeah. And well, right now we're one of the few companies that know how to get Facebook ads live for CBD and actually get sales. And we got 2 ads live 2 days ago with our new clients, and they're already getting tons of traction. And so yeah, it's great. And if you're doing Facebook ads, I would recommend number one, hitting me up. But if you're going to do it yourself, do video ads. Like most of these CBD companies, they're doing picture ads, and they don't convert. Like you'll see they don't have a lot of traction on them. But if you do a video ad, that's how you're going to, if you do a well-produced video ad, that's how you'll get some really good traction. If you're trying to do CBD ads for Facebook or it's Facebook CBD ads or
Love it.
Instagram.
Love it. You know, and that's a nice segue back to kind of the business of cannabis. You know, in the introduction, we talked about, you know, what you do, your consulting. So let me ask you a question. You're a consultant, and that's a big word. That's a really big word. So me as a potential client or consumer, what is the pain I need to be experiencing that I need you and your services? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, there's 2 different buckets. I think there's the people that are starting up, they're brand new to the industry, and they know they want to sell CBD and they want to launch a brand, but they don't know how to navigate everything. Like they might not even know how to set up a merchant account. That's a big problem a lot of people have. They don't know who to hire, you know, to help them navigate everything or how to market. You know, a lot of people are new to business, period, and they got excited about CBD. And I've been telling people this a lot recently, that CBD is just another ingredient. And I love the ingredient. It's a great ingredient, but like, you can't just be like, oh, you think that you're going to just be selling CBD and everybody's going to buy it from you. You have to have a strong brand, and, you know, you utilize archetypes is what we teach people, but having that brand and really unique packaging and, you know, giving back to a cause, that way your brand is going to resonate with people. So but I'm sorry, what was the original question, Rick?
No, you're on track. So the question was,
oh, what the pain points are. Yeah. And
yeah, like
so
what is, how do I know I need you? And
yeah.
so what you're talking about is that somebody who wants to get into the industry, like the startup CBD entrepreneur.
Yeah, and we have a lot of those people we've helped, and, you know, we help them get to where they want to go a lot faster, because I can connect them to the right people and just tell them what, you know, give them the advice on what to do. And we meet once a week, like how we're talking now through Zoom, and then we'll have Slack channels set up. So in between our calls, they can communicate and ask questions, and we get back to them right away pretty much. And then, yeah, the biggest the benefit of working with us is my network of people that I can connect them to beyond just me and my team. I always like to say I don't want to be the smartest one in the room. So just, you know, connect everybody I'm around is way smarter than me, especially at what they're good at. And so we have that. And then there's companies that maybe they're doing $1 million a year or $500,000 a year, and they're stuck and they want to get to that next level. So like my partner in our consulting company, he's done 25 million in e-commerce sales over the last 3 years selling CBD and terpene products. So they can pick his brain and he can give them advice and strategic advice. And we also do implementation as well for a fee. But yeah, so we can help them navigate the Facebook ads or how to set up a Facebook group and get results. We were getting 10 million views a week on our Facebook page when we had our brand. And so we could teach people some of those tips and techniques that we've utilized on how to get the traffic and how to get the sales. And so we've helped those companies as well. And I even have a couple clients that are doing $2-3 million a month. And so I just connect them to certain people in my network or give them advice on certain things. And I'm more of the brick and mortar expert, like teaching people how to get distribution accounts, get out there and get distribution or get those brick and mortar accounts. I have a sales process that I teach people, and I've done about 30 million in the last 6 years in brick and mortar sales of cannabis products. And so that's my expertise. And then my partner, Aaron, is the e-commerce expert, the one I just mentioned. So we have everything covered for somebody that wants to launch or scale up. And so even the companies that are doing big numbers, there's always some things they can learn. One company I consulted with, they do 30 million a year in sales online with their t-shirt company, but they launched a CBD company. And I was like a little nervous, like, am I going to be able to teach these guys anything? They do 30 million a year, but we blew their minds and they loved it. And so it's like, there's always something in this, especially in the niche of CBD that people don't know about. And Dr. B says, I have this disease. I think it's called Me Too-itis. Like, I think if I know something, I think everybody knows it. So I'm like, oh, everybody knows all this stuff. And she's like, no, they don't. So like, I just like to teach people, and it's exciting watching brands succeed and helping them get to where they want to go, because most people that I talk to, 95% are getting into this to help people, and they saw somebody in their loved one that helped or helped themselves, or there are some people that are just getting into it to make money that I've met, like marketers and stuff like that. But then there's nothing wrong with that. I don't knock it, but I personally would rather work with the people that want to create a long-lasting brand that are going to help people. And so it's exciting when I get to help those people.
Let me back up. Let me kind of give a high-level recap of what we've heard so far, because I'm just repetitive like that. So came from Chicago, disruptive kind of growing up, angry mindset, getting the right job at the right time at the right place, and understanding the power of your mindset and breath is what created the Matt that we're seeing today. You have a very calm demeanor about you, like a very humble kind of aura. And I would imagine, just based on what you shared about your story, it's because it starts here. From there, you help brands launch into the cannabis space. Then in California, which is where you live now, as it was going to go recreational legal, your prediction was it would be messy. And I think a lot of people said that. And we did an episode on the messiness of California cannabis, about episode 30 maybe, so several episodes back. And you decided, or you saw the opportunity that was going to emerge in CBD. And that's where we are today. You are now a leader in the CBD space with consulting, with helping folks scale a brand, start a brand. So all that to say, CBD is one of the hottest things around. There's no doubt it is. It works. I'm a CBD consumer myself. Every day it's a part of my life. I consume it every day.
Me
so
too.
If somebody's interested in getting into the industry as an entrepreneur, then you're somebody they need to be looking to.
I appreciate that. And we have a group on Facebook called CBD Business Success. And we'll be launching CBDBusinessAccelerator.com in January 2020. So I'm excited about that. And so those are like the resources that we have. And we have an Instagram page. I think it's at CBD Business Success or at CBD Biz Success. I forgot. But yeah, I haven't been on the Instagram in a little bit. But yeah, the Facebook group is very active, and it's I think it's a very positive community. There's about 5,000 CBD industry people in there helping each other navigate the crazy world. And we talk about different laws that are coming out, or what's the FDA doing nowadays. And we're really big on compliance. Like, there's so many brands out there that are making health claims, and you can't do that. And so we're big on teaching people how to be compliant with their labeling, their marketing materials, their website, and how to say things without making claims. Like, for instance, you can't say this helps insomnia, but you could say this promotes healthy sleep patterns. So you just have to know how to word certain things in your marketing and wordsmith it, we call it. And so compliance is big, and the companies that are making claims are making it harder and making the industry look bad, and it's making the FDA get angry at us. And so if you're out there and you have a CBD company and you're saying this helps your arthritis and it cures cancer and all this, you can't do that. And even if you're showing a study that's the real study, you cannot do that unless you were the one that funded that study. And so yeah, it's just important as an industry that we stop making health claims, because then hopefully the FDA will put out some new regulations for us to follow, and they'll, see that this industry is not going to go anywhere, which we're not. So I think it's important to touch on that, though.
Yeah, it seems that education gap is still as big as ever. It's from all viewpoints, from the experienced entrepreneurs to the newbies to the opportunists. Everybody is still either intentionally doing what they're doing, or it's just a misunderstanding. And you're right. I think even as we record this, in the last month, there was about 15 or 16 FDA letters sent out to known CBD brands. And there's false claims or something like that.
Yeah, some big companies are, making claims. And so, yeah, it's just, I get why they do it, because you're going to sell probably more product if you're making claims, but that's a short-sighted way of thinking. I think if you're really in this for the long term and you want to create a real brand, and those are the clients that I work with, they don't make claims on their websites. And there's ways of doing it where, we have creative ways to do things, but we never make claims through that CBD company.
Yeah, creativity is one of the mantras right now. It's understanding, yes, this is a powerful plant, and yes, it can do a lot of things, but it's understanding how to get that message out in a responsible and ethical way, so that people buy in, literally and figuratively. I mean, in a good way. And the FDA doesn't send you a letter. That's also a good thing.
Exactly. You don't want to get on the FDA's radar. And there's ways of doing it. Like when we had our brand, we set up a separate website, a separate company, separate everything. And we weren't making claims, but we were sharing studies and things like that. And it was totally separate under a different friend's name, everything. We completely separated it just to educate people, but we didn't want it connected to our brand. And so there's, like I said, ways of getting those studies out there and educating people without attaching it to your CBD brand, because you just can't do that. You're not supposed to.
Yeah. Interesting. Matt, so a while back, you talked about marijuana and the rec legalization in California, and you saw that CBD was going to be a thing, and it is. One might say that there was a crystal ball aspect to it, but all entrepreneurs are like that. We want to see where the next big opportunity is coming and wrap our heads around it. So now that we're in 2020 and CBD is here in a big way, if you were to look at the crystal ball today, let's say for the next 1, 2, or 3 years, where do you see, is there some product coming out? Is it going to be some new cannabinoid? Where do you see the industry going over the next few years? Like, what's the big thing in your opinion? That's
a good question. I've been saying this for a while, and I might be wrong, but I think CBN is going to be as big as CBD. I helped a lot of people get off of sleeping pills with CBN tinctures when I was running the dispensary in San Diego. And, it's starting to come out, and then CBG and all those other cannabinoids for sure. And also new genetics are huge. Like there's, incredible looking smokable hemp coming out. And so the genetics experts are working hard on coming up with different hemp strains that work in different environments. So if it's like in North Carolina, it's really it gets humid there and they get mold. So they're creating mold resistant genetic strains of hemp. And so the quality is going to get much better. And I think, if I was launching a CBD brand or extraction lab or a farm, I look at it like the beer industry. You have the high-end craft beers, and then you have the Budweisers of the world. And most of you people are not going to be a Budweiser, me included, because I don't have the funding like that. So why don't go big, go craft, like make something high quality, really high quality. Branding is important. Like me and Dr. B were having a discussion about a debate the other day, and I still stick to it. I think branding and packaging is more important than the product in the CBD world. Everybody's selling CBD now. The difference maker will be your brand and your packaging. And of course, the product has to be good, but you could have the best product in the world and it's in a crappy looking packaging. Nobody will buy it, or your website looks terrible or whatever. You don't have a good brand story. So the focusing on brand is huge. And if you don't have $1 to $2 million to start with, right now, you're not going to be like an international CBD brand. You have to have the funding now. It's like the cannabis industry. 3 years ago, you could have got into the CBD world for like $100,000 and you could have been the next Charlotte's Web, but not anymore. So you got to have the funding. And like when we did that cannabis conference in New Jersey, shout out to Gary. Every single speaker said funding. I didn't see your talk actually, but I don't know if you mentioned it, but every speaker I saw there talked about you got to have adequate funding. And I see a lot of people get into this with like 10, 20 grand and it's going to be tough. You can bootstrap definitely. And there are ways, and I'm helping brands do that, but that's more of like a local thing radiating out from there. And it takes longer time. And so just having that adequate funding and being a craft brand and just creating a high quality product, like maybe a live resin, maybe creating your products with live resin, because that's the best COAs I've ever seen in the cannabis and in the hemp industry, is when they're doing a live resin hydrocarbon extraction and making the products with that. And so just doing unique things like that, but also, like I said, it always goes back to the brand.
Love it. I'm also a believer that branding is going to be king. It's and you're right. I also believe that you got to have a good product, but it's going to be the brand that really attracts the eyeballs and awareness, and then the product's got to be what
you better have a good product too. Yeah. But I still think the branding is more important than the product. But it definitely better be good when you buy that product and you try it, and when you have high quality branding and packaging, you're able to charge more if you want. Like I work with a company recently, they charge $125 for their eye serum, and they're in high-end boutiques all over and they're selling great. So there's because it looks incredible, their packaging is incredible and their branding is really tight. And so when you have a strong story and strong packaging, you could charge more, and I'll pay more if I see something with cool packaging. I'm like, man, I definitely pay more for that.
Yeah, it's the whole Tiffany's box mentality. It's a diamond, but there's something unique about the brand, and of course the packaging is all blue, and when you open it, it's a piece of jewelry which you can get anywhere, but there's something unique and distinct about Tiffany's that you're just like, I want to go there and get that piece of jewelry, as opposed to the other 15 jewelry stores on my street or neighborhood, whatever it is.
That's a great analogy. And I think it's because they built up a trust, over time. And that's what you can do when you have a strong brand. And then when you open that box, everybody's selling diamonds, but they do have great quality diamonds and products. And so, it's a great analogy. And that's what I like to do too, is I like to look at companies that are outside of the CBD world and emulate some of the things that they're doing. And so, just looking at what other strong brands are doing, like, Zappos or companies like that, like that focus on the customer experience. And that's another thing that we focus on in our consulting is the direct to consumer experience, because as a CBD company, you're going to make your highest margins selling direct to the consumer. So getting them on monthly subscriptions and making sure your website can convert. A lot of these websites that I see, they're just way too much going on. People don't have an attention span. You got to catch them right away. And so we work a lot on things like that. with our clients, just that whole customer experience. Like when they get that box in the mail, it should have your logo on there, and you open the box up, the presentation should be nice. It shouldn't just be like a tincture bottle thrown in a bubble
Yeah.
mailer.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion.
No, I agree. It's it's becoming a crowded industry now, and we have to differentiate. And those tiny things can become the biggest differentiators. The unfair advantage, I like to say, for a tincture company or a startup or an idea, somebody who's doing something, it could be
100%. Like if you
sure.
like if somebody orders from you and then you send it next day and they didn't pay for that, you know, little things like that. And then if they get it next day, they're like, oh, cool, I got it that fast. And then they try it and it actually works. Then you probably got a customer for life. If you have your follow-up in place, like email marketing, or there's phone teams out there that I work with. They work on commission basis, and they will follow up and call customers, or customers that like didn't order all the way. I forgot, like abandoned carts and stuff. They can call on those people and get them to order. And so you just got to have all those pieces in place, like your email marketing, your phone teams, and automation set up.
Yeah, you've given us a lot to think about. And the good thing is that all the things you've shared, from the startup to merchant accounts to marketing, hiring, all the way to phone teams and follow-up campaigns, those are things that every entrepreneur in any industry, but especially in our space, CBD cannabis, should be thinking. It should be on your radar if you're thinking about long-term success. I do want to point out real quick that one of your predictions was CBN. And for those of you who are regular listeners, maybe you're just tuning in, I had to send a text out to our crew. Episode 20, we actually had Angelus and oh my gosh, the CBN company, they're only
Treeline.
Yes. I was like, oh my gosh, Treeline Organics. And episode 20, we interviewed them, and that's all they do is they have a CBN product. And I got to tell you, they sent me some, and it was outstanding, because I have trouble sleeping, and that was their focus. Is
Did you know that I helped them formulate that product? They're my client. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that. Small world.
I helped them come up with that idea, because I told them they were looking for what to do different. I was like, CBN, I mean, nobody's doing it. And they jumped on board. They were like, yeah. So we came up with that idea together and executed it, and I helped them formulate that product. And so, it's a great product. And I love CBN. I don't have trouble sleeping, but I love what it does for other people that have trouble sleeping, because like if you're in pain, usually you can't sleep. It's usually connected together with people being in pain or anxiety too, because their thoughts are racing and they can't sleep. So of course, like the combination of the CBD and CBN is just incredible. But I can't wait till the federal government finally loosens up and we can add a little THC in there as well, a little more than 0.3%, because, coming from the dispensary world, when you have that, even just a little bit of THC, it really helps potentiate the other cannabinoids. At least I'm not a chemist, but that's what I've seen in my experience working with like hundreds of thousands of people. We used to get 600 patients a day at one of our dispensaries.
Dang.
We were helping a lot of people and learning what works, what doesn't work.
Dang, I love it. And what a small world that. It's Angelus and Denise from Treeline. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Very cool. Episode 20, folks. If you want to hear a company that is actually bringing to life Matt's prediction, go to episode 20 on Weed to Know Basis. So what's next? Like over the next 12 months, it doesn't have to be an exact calendar, but over the next 12 months, what's next for Matt Sibert, for your company, for your growth? What's the vision?
So we're launching the CBD Business Accelerator in January this month. And so I'm really excited about that. We've been putting so much work into it the past 3-4 months. It's, we want the largest library of content for CBD brands. And there's 45 experts on there in different areas, whether it's lawyers, accountants, marketing people, things of that nature, that they have direct access to once they join the site. And we're going to be building that up, and we're going to be building mastermind group by the end of the year. We'll have that, like a high-end mastermind that brings people together to make deals happen in the CBD world. So I feel like that's missing, like having a community of people that work together, that can trust each other. There's a lot of unfortunately shady people in the CBD industry. Like I used to deal with gangsters in Chicago, and they're a lot more honest than most of the people in the CBD industry, unfortunately. So you have to be very careful navigating it. And so I'm looking to create a community of like-minded people that can really help each other grow, because there's enough to go around for us all. The industry is growing and growing. And so I'm not looking for people that are competitors. I want people that are creators, that want to create together and build a community together and help each other grow. And so that's my biggest focus for this year, is building that community and getting that going. And and just becoming that go-to resource in the CBD world for brands that are scaling and launching.
Love it. So we can look forward to you building an incredible community, and you've already got a jump start with your Facebook group. I'm a member of that. And
check out CBD Business Success, people. You can join that. It's free, and there's a ton of information in there. Like I get compliments from people that are new to the group. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't get off. I'm reading all the posts," and so it's fun to just get that information out there and help people create brands compliantly and hopefully do it the right way.
Very cool. I love it. I was just about to ask you, where can people find you? And there's a Facebook group, and you also mentioned cbdbusinessaccelerator.com. And just for the folks, if you're listening, don't worry, we're going to be dropping links in the show notes down below when we air this episode live. But Matt, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure reconnecting with you and getting to hear a little bit more in depth about you and your story and what you've done, where you're going, and how you're going to impact the industry. So it's been a pleasure catching back up, Matt.
Oh, you too, Rick. It's always fun talking to you, man. And I want to work with you in some ways this year too. So we got to talk about that. We've both been so busy, and so just connecting on that as well, and figuring out a course or something that we could put out. And so
for sure.
It's exciting times. And thanks again for having me, Rick. And I look forward to the next one.
For sure. And remember, guys, if you're listening, if you're watching this on YouTube, WeedTube, or listening on your headset, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever it is, or Apple Podcasts, I think it's called now, remember, it's because you two are on a weed to know basis. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember, have an awesome day, week, month, rest of the year. Hell, have an awesome life. Peace.